Hey, back in the shop with I Can Fix It. So we got an edger comes in, Super 7. They had put brushes in it. It was still arcing, wouldn't run properly, arcing really bad. So first of all, we're going to look at the brushes, and this is going to be an example of why you want to make sure you're listening to your machines, turning the pad by hand once in a while with the machine unplugged. You're feeling for bearings that go out, resistance, anything like that. So first thing we're going to notice is, well, the armatures burn up. So we've got these areas here that have been burnt from arcing from the brushes. And there's several of them, and they're actually the bars opposite of each other. They're humped out, so these have been pushed out. There's 3 spots on here, but 2 are directly across from each other. You can see that one's pretty bad. But overall, this armature doesn't look like it should be bad. There's a lot here. It's the size it should be. It really doesn't look that old. So we open up the top. We're going to look down there. Notice this here. See where the metal is rubbed off here? That tells me that that armature was possibly rubbing against here. Now when we push that brush back, we can see this pitting and this burning right there. That's also an indication that the brushes weren't close enough touching the armature, so the arc was jumping from the brush to the armature, which is going to burn it up. But this is concerning here where it's actually filed off. So I'm going to pause this. I'm going to put my camera up here on the stand and then restart, and we're going to pull this center section off and see what we find. Okay, so I untook the screws out already, so we're going to pull this off, and we look inside here, and we can see again areas where the armature has been rubbing the field, and that's not normal. But what would cause that? We can see here the armature. You can see that too. That's been rubbing. It's all ground around here. But look at what happens when I hold the edger. See how much play we have right here? Should not have that much play in there. So that tells me that something's gone wrong on the lower end. So again, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to flip this over and take the screws out so we can pull the bottom off, and then I'll restart and we'll look at that. Okay, I got the bottom pulled off. First thing we're going to see, which is not good, real concerning here. See all that brass? This brass gear has been ground up against that steel pinion gear in there. And more than likely that's from that armature moving, because when the armature moves, notice what happens inside. That pinion gear moves. Let's pull it off. Remember, these are reverse thread. And like I figured, the threads, it's all been damaged. It's not going to come off real easy. So definitely that armature is junk. What else we could be looking at? With movement on here, pushing that gear around, could have wallered out this housing for that bearing there too. So we'll take a look at that. All right, I will tell you that pinion gear is not coming off there. I'm going to have to cut it off. But if we look in here, we can see where our bearing failed, because there's the right in here. You can see the actual balls that are in the bearing. You should not see that. They should have a seal around them. There's actually some that have fallen out. There we go. So the bearing cage itself, pieces of that. Yeah, this bearing has completely come apart. So again, that should have been noticeable, because you should have heard noise, should have heard rattling in the bearing. The other thing I noticed that caused that bearing to go out was overheating. because of this, and we see this a lot. Guys are maybe not vacuuming before they edge. This is a plastic grocery bag that gets sucked up in here. It sucks it up from the floor, sucks it up through here, and wraps around this fan, which is right where that bearing is right here. That's right where that bearing cup is. So now you've wrapped that plastic bag around that fan, and now you're going to overheat that bearing, and it's not going to last very long. So overall, a lot of damage to the Super 7. As far as the price goes on an armature, all the bearings, provided this bearing housing isn't damaged, which it probably is. If it is, this whole lower base has to be replaced. Brass gear, pinion gear. I mean, at that point, you're probably not money ahead to save this edger. Seeing you'll need brushes, brush holder, cord. It needs wheels and possibly a field. So it may not be worth saving, but again, hey, always keep an eye on your equipment, listen to it, unplug it, turn it by hand, listen for noise, feel if there's any grinding, then you'll know there's something wrong, and you can nip that in the bud real quick before you have major damage like this. So hope this video was helpful. Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We've got more to come. Thanks for watching. I Can Fix It.